Hey guys, welcome to the Liberal Hive Mind, a channel solely focused on exposing the abundant hypocrisy of the left. Cue the Democrat media's own words and use it against them.
Breaking news tonight, new bombshell.
This is the beginning, not the end.
The beginning of the end.
The walls are closing in.
The wall's closing in.
The wall's closing in.
Breaking overnight bombshell.
This is a very dramatic day, and I think it might be near a tipping point. Do you think this is a tipping point?
This is unbelievable. This is remarkable. Have you ever seen anything like this?
The walls are closing in. Look, I have that same cynical feeling that you guys have as well. Yeah, sure. I'll believe it when I see it. Joe Biden is never actually going to be held accountable, but I don't know, maybe this time it's a little bit different. Have we ever been in a situation like this? I think the answer is no. Have we ever seen so much compounding evidence of not only misconduct, not ethics violations, but literal crimes? We have not. In every other instance, I mean, with Hillary Clinton, for instance, well, maybe there was evidence there in terms of the emails, but, you know, the myriad of other allegations and issues surrounding the Clintons, there's never been enough there. There's been loose connections, statements in a UK court. Of course, we know the Hillary Clinton campaign was behind the illegal FISA warrants, or the Steele dossier that led to the FISA warrants, but it's been a pretty tough task to actually make a link to Hillary Clinton herself and to define what the actual crime was. In this case, involving the Bidens, they literally impeached Donald Trump over this exact allegation. But of course, Trump didn't actually do anything wrong. Joe Biden, on the other hand, he abused his power, his authority, abused his position in the federal government to essentially blackmail a foreign government into doing his bidding. Folks, the day is today. We have the FD 1023 document, and well, it's bad. Let me show you guys exactly what's going on. We got some stuff to get into, so let's roll the tape. All right, friends, we have this piece right over here from the Politics Brief. FBI's FD 1023 document detailing Biden's bribery scheme is finally released to the public. The document itself, which is lightly redacted, details the confidential human source CHS traveling with Alexander Ostapenko to a meeting with Mykolai Zlochevsky, then the head of the Ukrainian gas firm Burisma that hired Hunter Biden for a board seat, Burisma CFO Vadim Pozarsky, and members of Zlochevsky's family in late 2015 and early 2016. Pozarsky is reported as stating at the meeting that Joe Biden's son was brought on board to, quote, protect us through his dad from all kinds of problems. Here are some key excerpts. CHS recalled this meeting took place around the time that Joe Biden made a public statement about former Ukraine prosecutor General Viktor Shokin being corrupt and that he should be fired/removed from office. CHS told Zlochevsky that due to Shokin's investigation into Burisma, which was made public at this time, it would have a substantial negative impact on Burisma's prospective IPO in the United States. Zlochevsky replied something to the effect of, "Don't worry, Hunter will take care of those issues through his dad," the form states, adding that the source did not ask any further questions about what that specifically meant. Zlochevsky added, Hunter Biden advised Burisma it could raise much more capital if Burisma purchased a larger US-based business that already had a history in the US oil and gas sector. CHS advised Zlochevsky it would be problematic to raise capital in the US given Shokin's investigation into Burisma, as nobody in the US would invest in a company that was subject to a criminal investigation. CHS suggested it would be best if Burisma simply litigate the matter in Ukraine and pay some attorney $50,000. The form adds, but Zlochevsky said Burisma would likely lose the trial because he could not show that Burisma was innocent. Zlochevsky also laughed at CHS's number of $50,000, not because of the small amounts, but because the number contained a 5, and said that it cost $5 million to pay one Biden and $5 million to another. CHS noted at this time that it was unclear whether these alleged payments were already made. And so let's do the flashback that we always do.
So they said they were walking out to press conference. Said, "No," I said, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. They said, "You have no authority. You're not the president." The president said, I said, "Call him." I said, "I'm telling you, you're not getting the $1 billion." I said, "You're not getting the $1 billion. I'm going to be leaving here." And I think it was, 6 hours? I said, "I'm leaving in 6 hours. If the prosecutor's not fired, you're not getting the money." Oh, son of a got fired. And they put in place someone who was solid. at the time.
Joe Biden in 2018 bragged about withholding aid to Ukraine when he was vice president until a specific Ukrainian prosecutor was fired. That man's name was Viktor Shokin. Now we have an FBI document alleging that the Bidens were paid to, quote, protect Burisma directly from Viktor Shokin's investigation, and that $5 million per Biden was paid to secure said protection. Joe Biden, the then sitting vice president of the United States, was being paid off through his family members to wield the US federal government as a weapon to protect a self-admitted criminal energy company in Ukraine from investigation. The question remains, was the payment actually made? Quote, it was unclear whether the alleged payments were already made. Well, according to Paul Sperry, a very, very reputable source, the House Oversight Committee has just obtained the bank records for the Burisma payments from Ukraine transferred into Biden pass-through accounts. Frickin' smoking gun. And just think about this. Throughout this entire time, all the talk about the Bidens, Burisma, Joe Biden's implication, I mean, it's been an issue ongoing for years at this point, at least 6 or 7 years. People have had knowledge and questions about the situation as a whole, and of course Joe Biden's implication, and since back in 2018, the FBI had a document from a confidential human source with a direct link to all the top executives at Burisma, essentially confirming it all. And they sat on it. And when we were finally made aware that this document existed, thanks to whistleblowers, the FBI denied its existence, meanwhile working behind the scenes to censor the Hunter Biden laptop story during peak election season. I mean, come on. At this point, the amount of cognitive dissonance required to deny the obvious corruption right in front of your eyes is astonishing. It happened. Insider Burisma executives essentially laid the whole racket out. Joe Biden admitted that he blackmailed the Ukrainians in an effort to get Viktor Shokin fired. Now we're learning that supposedly he was paid millions of dollars to do exactly that. I mean, let's really put it into perspective here. In 2015, Burisma paid $10 million to the Bidens so that Hunter, through his father, current sitting vice president Joe Biden, could strong-arm the Ukrainian government to get Viktor Shokin fired. In 2018, Biden then brags publicly that, haha, I did it. And then in 2019, what do the Democrats do? They launch an impeachment kabuki theater witch hunt to remove Donald Trump from office over a phone call where he simply asked Volodymyr Zelensky, what happened with the prosecutor? Maybe you should look into it. Insane. I mean, absolute craziness. And even crazier, it's not information that we didn't already know was contained in the FD 1023, but it also confirms that CHS clarified that Zlochevsky said that he had a total of 17 recordings involving the Bidens, 2 of the recordings including Joe Biden, and the remaining 15 only Hunter. There's also a 2019 phone call where Zlochevsky responded that he did not send any funds directly to the big guy, which the confidential human source understood was a reference to Joe Biden. CHS asked Zlochevsky how many companies/bank accounts Zlochevsky controlled, and he responded that it would take them 10 years of investigation to find the records, i.e., illicit payments to Joe Biden. There it is. Confirmation Joe Biden's the big guy. The FBI knew it. They have a document which confirms it directly from the head of Burisma, but they didn't bother to investigate, and throughout this entire time never actually clarified when it was highly relevant to a presidential election. They knew that Joe Biden was the big guy, and they knew that there was a web of payments and shell companies that the Bidens were using to mask these funds and these bank transfers in order to hide the true recipient. Hunter Biden wasn't the recipient. He was simply the proxy. The recipient was the big guy, Joe Biden. Clearly, that's who Burisma was in business with, because supposedly these Ukrainian oil executives thought that Hunter was, quote, stupid and his dog was smarter, yet they hired him anyway. Joe Biden is a criminal, and the FBI defended him. Whether they actively played a role in censoring information or just hiding information from the public, they knew who the big guy was. They had credible allegations. They could have easily looked into the web of bank transfers, but they chose not to. Lying by omission, misleading the American public, protecting the Bidens, and their criminal bribery schemes. They did nothing, all the while they continue to legally persecute and harass former President Donald Trump. And that is the truth. That's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to leave a like and possibly subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.